There is a mistake that small churches all across America are making right now, and most of them have absolutely no idea. It is not a moral failure. It is not a leadership problem. It is a financial mistake, and it is costing them an average of $12,000 every single year. Some churches have lost much more than that, and the painful part? It is completely avoidable. Stay with me. Because by the end of this video, you will know exactly what this mistake is and how to fix it before it costs your church another dollar. Welcome back to Church Money Made Simple, the channel that helps pastors and church leaders manage money, stay compliant, and protect everything they have worked so hard to build. Today we are talking about one of the most common and costly financial mistakes that small churches make. We are going to cover what the mistake actually is, why small churches are most vulnerable, how it quietly drains thousands every year, the warning signs to look for right now, and exactly how to fix it step by step. Let's get into it. The mistake is this: misclassifying workers, specifically treating employees as independent contractors when the IRS says they should be employees. Now, I know that might sound technical, but stay with me because this is simpler than it sounds and the consequences are very serious. Here is what happens in small churches all the time. A church hires a worship leader, maybe a part-time secretary, a children's ministry director, a sound technician, and instead of putting them on payroll, they just hand them a check every week or every month. No taxes withheld, no payroll processing, no W-2 at the end of the year. The church gives them a $1,099 and calls them an independent contractor. It feels easier. It feels cheaper. It feels like it saves everybody time. But here is the problem. The IRS has a very specific definition of what makes someone an employee versus an independent contractor. And in most of these situations, that worship leader, that secretary, that children's director, they are legally employees, not contractors. And when the IRS finds out, and they do find out, the bill that arrives is devastating. Now, why does this happen so often in small churches specifically? 3 reasons. Reason 1, no HR department. Large churches have administrators, accountants, and HR professionals who know the rules. Small churches are often run by the pastor and a handful of volunteers doing their best with limited knowledge. Nobody told them the rules. Nobody explained the difference. They were just trying to serve their community. Reason 2, cash flow pressure. Small churches operate on tight budgets. When you process payroll properly, you have to withhold taxes, pay employer contributions, file quarterly reports. That feels expensive and complicated. So churches take shortcuts. They pay people off the books or call everyone a contractor just to keep things simple. Reason 3, following bad advice, sometimes a well-meaning deacon or treasurer who handled it this way for 20 years teaches the next generation the same wrong method. Bad habits get passed down from one church leadership team to the next without anyone ever questioning it, until the IRS sends a letter. Let me show you exactly how this becomes $12,000. Say your small church has 3 workers you have been paying as contractors. A part-time worship leader at $800 per month, a children's director at $600 per month, a church secretary at $500 per month. That is $1,900 per month, or $22,800 per year total, when the IRS determines these people should have been classified as employees. Here is what your church owes: unpaid employer payroll taxes, Social Security, and Medicare contributions that the church was supposed to pay. That is 7.65% of total wages. On $22,800, that is approximately $1,744 per year. Unpaid employee payroll taxes because the church failed to withhold the IRS can hold the church responsible for the employee portion too. That is another $1,744 per year. Penalties and interest. The IRS charges failure to deposit penalties, failure to file penalties, and interest on everything unpaid. On a 3-year audit period, which is standard, those penalties can easily add another $4,000 to $8,000. Add it all up, you are looking at $10,000 to $15,000 in back taxes, penalties, and interest for a small church already operating on a tight budget. That kind of bill can be catastrophic. Some churches have had to close their doors because of this exact situation. So how do you know if someone should be classified as an employee or a contractor? The IRS uses 3 main categories to decide. Category 1, behavioral control. Does your church control what the person does and how they do it? Do they work set hours? Do they follow your direction and schedule? Do they only work for your church? If yes, they are likely an employee. Category 2, financial control. Does the church control the financial aspects of their work? Do you provide their equipment? Do you set their pay rate? Do they work exclusively for you? If yes, they are likely an employee. Category 3, type of relationship. Is there a written contract? Do they receive benefits? Is the relationship permanent and ongoing? If the relationship looks like employment, the IRS will treat it as employment. A simple test: if this person shows up every week, follows your schedule, uses your equipment, and only works for your church, they are an employee, period. The good news is this is completely fixable. Here are your action steps. Step 1. Audit your current workers. Make a list of everyone your church pays. Volunteers do not count. Anyone receiving money, list them, then go through the IRS criteria and honestly assess each person. Are they an employee or a true contractor? A true contractor is someone like a plumber you call once to fix a pipe, or a graphic designer you hire for one project. Someone who shows up every week and follows your direction, that is an employee. Step 2. Set up payroll. If you have employees, you need a payroll system. There are affordable options designed specifically for small churches and nonprofits. Some popular ones include Gusto, Paychex, and ADP. Many of them offer nonprofit discounts and will handle all your tax filings automatically. Step 3. File the right forms. Employees receive a W-2 at year-end. True contractors receive a 1099. Make sure you are filing the correct form for each person. Step 4. Consider the voluntary classification settlement program. If you have been misclassifying workers, the IRS actually has a program that allows you to correct this voluntarily at a significantly reduced penalty. It is called the VCS Voluntary Classification Settlement Program. Coming forward voluntarily is always better than being audited. Talk to a church tax professional about whether this applies to you. Step 5. Create a written policy. Going forward, document how your church classifies workers. Put it in writing. Have your board approve it. Review it every year. This protects your church if you are ever questioned. Listen, nobody starts a church to deal with IRS penalties and back taxes. You started because you felt called, because you wanted to serve your community, because you believed in something bigger than yourself. But protecting your ministry financially is part of protecting your calling. A $12,000 tax bill does not just hurt your budget, it hurts your ability to serve, it hurts your staff, it hurts your congregation. So do not wait for a letter from the IRS to take this seriously. Take action today. Review who you are paying. Set up proper payroll. Protect your church. If this video opened your eyes, please like this video and subscribe so you never miss information that could protect your ministry. Share this with your church treasurer, your board members, or any pastor you know running a small church. Drop fixed IT in the comments if you are going to take action after watching this. Next video we are covering how to set up a church budget from scratch. Even if you have zero finance experience, I will see you there.